So let's start with, how do you frame the ask? And does the approach vary depending on whether you already have a relationship with the mentor you're seeking or not?
Yes and no. I mean, obviously, if you know the person and have a relationship, it's probably a little bit easier to approach them. But I still think you have to be clear about what your objectives are out of the relationship, right? Is it, again, general, career guidance? Is it, understanding a specific, I think, Erna, as you put it, a technical issue? Like, that's what, for me, what I needed. And I think if you don't know the mentor, it's to know enough about walking out this mentor. So it could be, you can either get the connection through somebody who know, right, through somebody who knows that person, like, again, what I did, or you can actually just send an email and say, look, this is what I understand about you. Here's what I'm looking for specifically. And I would value, getting to learn and understand from you in these specific areas. I have always found that when people would ask me to be their mentor, if it was real general and I didn't know them, I'd be like, okay, well, why, right? So I think the more specific one can be, actually helps establish that. And again, if somebody would send me a request that was really specific and clearly they had done their homework on why they were seeking me out, I was actually really intrigued by that. Like, wow, this is interesting. I always sort of every year budgeted, X number of people that I would mentee. And if I had an open slot, I'd like, okay, well, this could be interesting. I might learn something.
I actually very much appreciate young people who are courageous, or not even young people, any individual who is courageous enough to make the ask. And it conveys to me they are seeking to learn and grow. And if I can help someone along their journey, if it's one coffee or if it's over a period of time, we'll usually talk that out in the first session. But it takes a certain sense of courage. And I would encourage everyone to just reach down and ask.
Yeah. For those of you who have attended our Confident Speaking for Women workshop, and it's woven into some of our other workshops as well, this is a wonderful opportunity to use the PrEP framework that enables you to position that ask in a very concise, compelling way. And in this example, you would start with P is for position. In this case, here's your ask. Don't hesitate to be direct in what you're asking for. Give your reason. Why are you asking for that? Give an example. And that example would include the benefit that you both mutually can gain from the relationship, as well as how the business overall is going to benefit, assuming it's an internal person, and then restate your ask. That's showing courage. I don't think we got to, so you make your ask, you hopefully get a yes. And if the person says no, in my experience, I have had cases where the person I'm asking really, really would like to help, but they're just overloaded. They already, they're at capacity as it relates to the number of mentees that they're helping. In almost every case when that happens, they've recommended someone else. So if they don't volunteer that's another thing that you could do is say, I completely understand. Is there anyone else you might recommend that might be a good fit for me, given my needs and where I am in my career? So we talked about the ask. What about that first meeting as a mentee? How should you come to that? Are there specific questions, specific information you should be prepared to share that's going to set the stage and make the relationship as productive and effective as possible?
I can jump in on this one. I think, Carla had mentioned this earlier, kind of having a checklist of, if you will, of the kind of goals and objectives. What is the outcome that you're looking for in this session, and having clarity and an open conversation about rules of engagement. We do this in a lot of, what are our ground rules? What are going to be our, partnership norms here? Is it okay to be 5 minutes late? Do we have grace and understanding that may be the case to transition? But really thinking about, from a mentor's perspective and a mentee's perspective, mentor, what are important things for you to get out of this as well? Here's what's important for me. And so looking at it from a tactical, practical, but also just a very open, I'm trying to figure out what outcomes I'd like to achieve. Here's how I'd like to go about it. How would you recommend? What are your suggestions? What would be important for you? There's a checklist. There's that whole continuum of being super formal. A lot of the platforms out there, coaching platforms, have literally a checklist of items: introduction, overview of your career and your professional journey, 3 outcomes and goals. I mean, you can get as structured as that, or you can have it more free flowing. But I think it's the openness that you have in that first conversation to understand rules of engagement.